este singura apă extraordinară din România. Avem 60% din izvoarele Europei. Izvoare cu apă folosită terapeutic de acum 1600 de ani. Exportam apă la Constantinopol acum 800 de ani. Ape extrase de la sute de metri adâncime. Ape ce izvorăsc din păduri virgine sau ape premiate internațional. Avem și cea mai pură apă minerală din lume, iar apele din România continuă să se întreacă între ele. Încearcă noul izvor Aqua Carpatica, la fel de pur și cu gust unic datorat concentrației speciale de săruri. Aqua Carpatica din România, patria apelor minerale.
Credem că totul este un miracol. De aceea îmbrățișăm visurile celor care au nevoie de noi. Este miza noastră, singura, Sanador, sănătatea ca stil de viață.
Un nou capitol în industria farmaceutică din România începe astăzi. În orașul Turda, în inima Transilvaniei, Stada a deschis o nouă fabrică de ultimă generație. Lucrările pentru proiectul ambițios au durat 2 ani. În 2022, locația pe care ne aflăm în prezent era un teren gol. Investiția de peste 70 de milioane de euro a transformat spațiul într-un hub farmaceutic modern care concurează cu cele mai bune din Europa. În interiorul fabricii Stada Turda, tehnologia de ultimă generație întâlnește standarde riguroase de calitate. În zona de producție, 9 linii de ultimă generație pentru tabletaje pot produce peste 150 de milioane de cutii de medicamente anual, iar numărul liniilor de producție se va extinde la 12. Digitalizarea cu ajutorul tabletelor MES sporește eficiența și conformitatea proceselor de producție, iar nipărele, vehiculele ghidate automat, oferă un sprijin suplimentar. În zona de depozit se pot procesa 60 de paleți pe oră. Sistemul de depozitare High Bay are o înălțime de 30 de metri și oferă o priveliște de minunitate. În zona de laboratoare se găsesc echipamente de ultimă generație, cum ar fi sistemele HPLC și GC. Spațiul modern de lucru este unul în care orice farmacist visează să lucreze, iar în prezent, aici, se formează o tânără echipă de profesioniști, probabil cea mai bună din industrie. Hubul farmaceutic Stada din Turda contribuie la consolidarea industriei farmaceutice, o industrie strategică, securizând aprovizionarea cu medicamente a Europei și României.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alexandra Maria Galan, and it is my pleasure to
in progress.
at the Bucharest Leaders Summit, a roadmap to the future for the IVF agenda, which is taking place today at the Romanian National Institute of Statistics in hybrid format, in physical format, and also online on Zoom. Thank you very much to our speakers that are today with us, and also to the speakers that join us online. And without any further ado, I will welcome the first speaker of today, who is Ms. Silvia-Monica Dinică, State Secretary at the Ministry of Labor, Family, Youth and Social Solidarity. Ms. Dinică, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation to Media Uno and the organizers of the Bucharest Leaders Summit. It is a pleasure to be here today with you. I have to apologize at the beginning because due to other meetings, it was impossible to be present with you in the same room. But luckily, we have the technology that helps us to be together and discuss. So I know there's a lot of the interest of the fertilization in vitro program, and it's very much an interest of the people who want to be parents and that can be helped to become parents. I will give you a few of the numbers that characterize the previous programs, because there were previously two other stages that took place between 2022 and 2024. We had over 19,000 applications submitted. Over 17,000 applications were eligible, and we granted more than 16,000 vouchers. Later, we had over 3,400 pregnancies that have been confirmed and more than 1,000 children born so far, with some pregnancies still ongoing. These figures demonstrate the fact that we have a strong public interest, and also that there is effectiveness of these measures in supporting families and increasing birth rates. For 2025, as you probably know, the program was relaunched starting October 20, with the budget intended for more than 6,600 couples. And now, of course, we were all aware of the budgetary constraints ahead for 2026, but it was an effort from the Ministry of Labor to secure funds for this very important program. Therefore, what was achieved was that we managed to obtain budgeting from the operational program health, that it was agreed with the Ministry of Investments and European projects. And of course, the details so there will be European funds for next year program. The details regarding the number of people eligible for this program, the categories, this will be specific to the development of the financing line related to these European funds, and will be as soon as possible established with the Ministry of Investments and European projects, considering also the specific legislation for implementing the programs of these types. The truth is that the Ministry of Family, Youth and Social Solidarity has initiated the official correspondence in this regard in order to quickly begin drafting and writing the applicant's guide. Now, Of course, you're probably also curious about the implementation timeline for this program funded with the European funds. And this will also be established together with the Ministry of Investments in European projects. Taking into account the previous experience with this program, and also the level of the technical discussions and consultations that come together with the European funds, and of course the desire to launch the program as soon as possible. So it's good that we have this funding secured. And I'm also looking forward to having all the clear details set up in place as soon as possible, so we have better transparency and clarity over the future program for 2026.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for giving us the numbers. We are all quite aware about the IVF national program that, as far as I know, reached the third program this year. So it's IVF national program number 3. As far as I know, also the program that is due to launch next year through European funds is addressed more or less to people that come from vulnerable categories. So my question is, does the ministry takes into account the idea of launching also maybe another national IVF program number 4 besides the program with subsidiaries from the European institutions? Because I think this will address a larger population and not only the vulnerable categories that could apply for the program with the European funds. Thank you.
To be honest, I think it's the interest is here. So we are all aware, irrespective of the party or the ideology, of the need that such programs have at the level of the society. So there's this is not something questionable. Now we need definitely to see how much money we can secure through the European funds, how can we define very well these categories, and of course, if there is, if there's other categories that are identified and further, because it's not a matter of, somebody that doesn't understand the need for that. It was rather a matter of we want to have the program secured with funding. So I cannot offer more details at this point, but of course there will be talks about the future budget too, and this means we have to continue this conversation also, outside of this conference, and see what other directions can be explored to secure funds for this kind of programs.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary of State. We are all eyes and ears, and we are following closely the activity of the ministry, because we all depend somehow, due to our activity, to the decision that you and the minister are taking this day. So thank you very much. And if we don't have any online questions, I will pass to the next speaker of the day, who is Dr. Gunja Gupta, from London, who's principal of Gunja IVF World. Ms. Gupta, welcome. She's not online with us, so I will pass to our next speaker that I'm more than happy to introduce, Ms. Diana-Loreta Păun, Head of Endocrinology Clinic of the University Emergency Hospital, Bucharest. Ms. Păun, thank you for being today with us. You have the floor.
Good afternoon. It is an honor and a pleasure for me to be with you today. And I want to congratulate Media Uno for this event and also for the entire summit. Yes, infertility represents a significant global public health issue affecting millions of individuals and couples worldwide. Its demographic and social consequences have grown increasingly visible in recent decades, prompting deeper investigation and new approaches in reproductive medicine. One of the most transformative developments in this context has been the advent and expansion of in vitro fertilization, which continues to shape modern family planning and demographic outcomes. Infertility contributes directly to declining birth rates and population aging. In many countries, particularly in Europe and East Asia, fertility rates have fallen below replacement level, intensifying concerns regarding labor shortages, social support systems, and economic sustainability. The inability to conceive not only affects those who wish to become parents, but also has broader consequences for national population structures. Furthermore, delayed parenthood has become more common due to lifestyle changes, longer educational and career pathways, and socio-economic challenges. This delay increases the risk of infertility, of course, creating a cyclical demographic effect. As a result, fertility treatments, including IVF, have become an essential component of national demographic strategies in some countries. We have also a social impact of infertility. Beyond demographic concerns, infertility significantly affects emotional well-being, relationships, and cultural identity. In many societies, having children remains a cornerstone of personal and social fulfillment. Individuals facing infertility frequently experience stigma, anxiety, depression, and social isolation. Cultural and religious belief may further intensify the physiological burden. In certain communities, infertility can lead to discrimination, marital instability, or even exclusion from social roles. Women are particularly vulnerable to being blamed for childlessness, even when infertility is shared medical issue. Since the first successful birth through IVF in 1978, the procedure has revolutionized reproductive health. IVF is not widely recognized as a critical resource for individuals and couples struggling with infertility, as well as for same-sex couples and single parents by choice. Advances in technology, including genetic screening, embryo freezing, and improved success rates, have contributed to its expansion. Governments and health systems are increasingly acknowledging IVF as a vital component of reproductive healthcare. In several countries, public funding, insurance coverage, and supportive legal frameworks have improved access to treatment. Significant inequalities also persist. In many regions, IVF remains prohibitive, expensive, and ethical debates continue regarding embryo protection, surrogacy, and the commercialization of reproduction. But as IVF become more common, societies face new ethical, legal, and social questions. These include the rights of donor-conceived children, reproductive tourism, and the potential for genetic enhancement. Balancing medical innovation with responsible regulation will be essential to ensure equitable and ethical access to fertility treatments. In conclusion, infertility has far-reaching demographic and social implications that extend beyond individual experiences. The expanding role of IVF offers renewed hope to those seeking to build families, while also serving as a powerful tool for addressing population decline in many regions of the world. Continued dialogue, research, and policy development will be critical to ensuring that reproductive technologies are accessible, ethical, and supportive of diverse family structures. If you have a question, I'm here to respond.
Yeah, thank you very much. We always listen to whatever you are preparing for us with so much interest, so thank you very much for being today with us. I have a short question, and after that, obviously, I will also give the floor to the other speaker if they have any other question. For me, is more or less of a personal interest, because I know that at least 1 in 5 couples in Romania are fighting infertility, and in 2024, it was the lowest cohort of newborn babies in Romania. So basically we are fighting an accelerating demographic decline. So do you think that IVF can become a strategic public policy issue on the agenda of the ministries, and not only, because I think it's of national interest what's happening right now in Romania?
Thank you for the question. As you know, given Romania's rapid demographic decline and rising prevalence of infertility, in vitro fertilization is likely to shift from being the last resort medical treatment to a more accessible and integrated component of the public healthcare system. Several developments can be expected in the coming decade. First of all, a growing natural demand for IVF. Couples continue to postpone parenthood, which reduce natural fertility. Lifestyle and health factors are contributing to increase in fertility rates. Social normalization of IVF will encourage earlier medical intervention. So Romania may move from small scale early funding schemes to be predictable, multi-year national program, as my colleague already said, and IVF could become partially or fully covered through national health insurance. So we need to strengthen our medical infrastructure. We need more accredited fertility centers and specialized team. We need to improve facilities for cryopreservation and reproductive genetics, and of course standardization of quality to reduce medical tourism. Yes, IVF can evolve over the next, 6-10 years from an individual medical solution into a strategic public policy tool in Romania.
That's amazing. Thank you very much for your answer and for being today with us. I will pass to our next speaker, who will speak about the demographic and social impact of infertility and the expanding role of IVF. And it is my pleasure to introduce Marina Protopopescu, who is a global fertility and social-cultural aspects of infertility since 2018. And I will revise the title of today's presentation because I care very much about the topic. It's Innovation in IVF and New Technologies on Earth and in Space. So thank you very much, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you to Media Uno for organizing for about 5 years this nice event, this nice conference. And, you know, step by step, we became international, and we can do more things with our friends and colleagues from abroad. And thanks to the Statistic Institute as well for letting us organize this nice conference here. And thank you all for being present and all for being online now. I am Denisa Protopopescu, Denisa Marina Protopopescu, and I'm going to talk about innovation in IVF. So today, shall I use this? Okay. Can, what's the word? Wait. Hmm? We have very nice friends coming from abroad. It's Professor Zavos, who is, well, we call him the father of andrology in the world because he is one of the people who start IUI 30 years ago or more times, you know, long times ago. He will have a talk today. We have Dr. Carmen Navarro from Venezuela. She is wonderful. She is a very nice lady working in this field of reproductive embryology and reproductive genetics. And also we have Ritu and Dr. Shadi from Egypt, a very great friend. So we start with innovation in IVF, new technologies on Earth and in space. Shall I move on? This is not working. Okay. So innovation in IVF was transformed, as you know. It was the first start in IVF in 1978 in UK, and now IVF has transformed millions of lives, but success rate and accessibility are still vary. They are not 100% anyway. Now, new technology like artificial intelligence, genetics, microfluidics, and even space research are shaping what's possible. Next one. It's not working, this. Artificial intelligence tools are increasingly used to analyze images, time-lapse videos, and embryos to predict which ones have the best chance of successful implantation. For example, there are algorithms which may process cell division, timing, morphology changes, and growth trajectories. Also used in other parts of the IVF cycles, like in predicting optimal timing for egg retrieval, so the trigger to pick up interval, using machine and learning are used. Regulatory steps already in European Community. Artificial intelligence for embryo selection software has recently received CE marks in Europe. Why this matters? Because it reduces human subjectivity, potentially improve success rate, reduce number of cycles needed. The next, următorul. Here are kind of, it was published in Nature, where is used artificial intelligence. So we already use artificial intelligence in ovarian stimulation, in prevention of predictive ovulation, in trigger of oocytes retrieval, in oocytes assessment, in sperm assessment, in embryos assessment, and embryo transfer, and also in luteal phase. Next one. Okay. So It's already published in Cornell, and there are lots of clinics who got this incubator now, who are based on artificial intelligence. Of course, we need the people nearby, but we can use, we can see the embryos growing in a normal way for day 1 to day 6 in this incubator. The next one. Also in artificial intelligence, you see we can use to select the embryos, we can use for transfer, for injection. Next. So now art, it's already automation. We can pave the way, let's say, for the future of infertility treatment. Next. Next, we can use deep learning model for blastocyst, for embryo selection. Oops. So, IVF basics and the needs for innovation. Of course, global infertility show us 1 in 6 couples are affected by infertility. This was published in 2023. The average success rate all over the world is 30% per cycle, if we take all the countries in the world. Motivation, it's a higher success. We need a higher success. We need safer IVF, and we need more accessibility for the couples who are infertile. Despite the progress, most IVF cycles still failed, and that's why innovation is crucial to make treatment more effective, affordable, and adaptable even for future space mission. On Earth, we have the diagram with artificial intelligence, with genetic screening, with microfluidics, with cryotech, and with stem cells. This is PGT, which we already do it for a few years, but now PGT can be done more with artificial intelligence. So what was PGT? We take from the embryos few cells and we send them to be tested genetically and to say if embryos are good or not. So PGD traditionally, it was done like this. Now there are new techniques, non-invasive on the embryos, because we select some culture medias around the embryos and we biopsy, we send it for testing, for genetic testing, and it became more sensitive, so next generation sequencing, detective of smaller variants, faster turnaround, yeah? And why this matters? Because we have safer for embryos, we have potentially higher implantation and live birth rates higher, and less damage on embryos because it's a non-invasive test. Automated image analysis, so time-lapse incubator plus deep learning, predictive model for embryo viability, and we have already, as I told you, CE-marked artificial intelligence in the EU clinics. So artificial intelligence reduces human subjectivity using image data to predict which embryos will most likely to implant successfully. Non-invasive tests use DNA fragments, as I told you before, from culture media. Microfluidics and lab-on-a-chip IVF. So microenvironment mimics the fallopian tube media. So it's a kind of automated sperm sorting and also tube culture media, and also for fertilization. So we have now portable IVF labs. So we can go with IVF labs from one country to another, It was one guy from European community, very nice man, who, a Belgium one, it's a professor from Belgium, who had a cheap and portable IVF, so it's a egg man, that's how he called it, working in Africa, in a very poor country in Africa where they don't have IVF, so they start to have IVF at 600 euros for one process. So we are trying, of course, probably the big, huge companies are not very happy with this, but we have to move on. Microfluidics could make IVF smaller, cheaper, and more precise, possibly even suitable for extreme environments like space. Time-lapse embryo monitoring. So I told you about the incubators, and it's likely having a movie of the embryos live instead of snapshots. Cryopreservation advanced, so vitrification, which gives us already 100 survival rate of the embryos, of the oocytes and of the sperm. Oncofertility can have a great chance in it with egg freezing for age delay lady as well. So cryoprotectants are improved. And this technology enables reproductive choice and security. Stem cells and bioengineering frontiers, where gamete from induced pluripotent stem cells and artificial ovaries and uterine tissue engineering. I didn't put your movies, but in 2023, it's not time to do this. It's a professor from the States. They build already the artificial uterus. It's accepted, FDA approved it from 5 months of pregnancy to carry on the babies with a placenta, artificial amniotic fluid and all the environment for a baby. So for babies over 5 months when they aborted, we say aborted in Romania, but they said already deliver a baby. So they carry the baby with artificial uterus till the end of the pregnancy. So things are moving on. They didn't approve yet in FDA for embryo labs, so for IVF, but probably in the future they will. So they are early stage, but could help people who can't produce viable gametes or women with absent or remove the uterus, because you know uterine transplants, we'll have a session in 2026 in London with the Sweden one who was the father of uterine transplants. Uterine transplants, it's quite difficult to be done. And after you do the uterine transplant, they carry on the pregnancy and then you have to remove the uterus. So if we have, for most of the ladies, this machine will help them, it's very good. Of course, combined IVF, genetics, microfluidics, it's a smart IVF, that's what they called, towards personalized fertility medicine. So the future IVF lab may look more like a data center than a clinic. Now I talk about innovation in space because I have the privilege to participate in a seminar with Edgar Edelbroek in Holland, and we organize seminars from time to time, and now we are organizing another one about study of IVF in space. You have to know that they try to organize this for quite a long time ago, 12 years, 14 years. They are trying on, they sent already sperm, Professor Toresilas, who is in our organization, sent eggs in a medium without gravity. The sperm came back in a good way, so you can get babies, you know, rat babies after this with normal genetic function. Eggs were not good because of the radiation, but you have to know that if we can find out more things about space and we understand reproduction under microgravity and radiation, we can understand biological insights, feedback in the Earth as well. Because sometimes you see we don't have proper, you know, it's very warm, it's very hot, the medium is not very good, the sun is burning too much, so we have radiation more than 10 years ago. Yeah, in my childhood, I didn't have a burn on my, but now if you stay in sun more than an hour, you got burned. So, the space biology experiments, NASA is working in micro 11, so sperm activation in microgravity. Freeze-dried mouse sperm, as I told you, was sent with ISSS, and we got healthy offspring. There are early signs that fertilization may be possible in space, but not yet approved. So this sperm-born united, as I told you, with Edgar Edelbrock, they got a system called ARTIS, and they got micro IVF incubators. It's not science fiction, that's what I'm telling you. It's true, and they are moving on. They are very nice people all over the world, from NASA, from I told you Holland, UK, China, Taiwan, Japan, everywhere. And the first orbital test on 2025 was successful. The aim is conception and early embryo culture in low Earth orbit. So this was our first, meeting. And yes, there are lots of things that we don't know, but probably in 5-10 years we will know more things. Microgravity effects on embryo implantation, we have to find it. Radiation, who damaged the DNA. Childbirth psychology in space is not data yet. And of course, we talk about ethical and legal frontiers. There is a roadmap consortium who work in these ethical and legal frontiers for space reproduction. We have the meeting all together, so we have to know about this and know about conception in space, know about radiation exposure and child safety. How is the future looks? Well, we still have to work on ethics and artificial intelligence in embryo scoring. We have to give access, more access and equity to all the people in the world, even in Romania, where it's the first I talked last year about this. This is the only country in European community where the government is not the Casa de Sănătate, National Health Institute, doesn't support at all IVF. It's only a program from the Ministry of Health, but we should have, Bulgarian had 3 IVF from Institute of Health. Hungary have all the people can do free IVF as many times as they can to get a baby. Everywhere in Europe, they support IVF. Okay, we wait. probably we will have in the future, we hope in the near future. So, and of course we have to know more things about genetic editing boundaries. Space microgravity studies inform embryo biology. Mini IVF labs, there are automated Earth application already, and cross-pollination of tech and policy is an important point. So the vision for 2040, I think fully automated closed loop, IVF labs, artificial intelligence and microfluidic culture plus genetic analysis, reproductive feasibility on Moon, so Mars bases are the first point that they talk about. In summary, IVF tech is advancing rapidly through artificial intelligence, genetics, and bioengineering. Space research expands the boundaries of reproductive research, science. Ethical and equitable implementation is key to sustainable future. I don't have time to put the film. And I want just to show you, we have now, we just set up an organization, an international organization, a global organization of gonadal bioregeneration. I am very proud to be a part of it. Our president, honorary president, Professor Zavos, will talk today. Our president, Carmen Navarro, will talk today as well. Dr. Shadi will be here. I talked to Professor Toricellos from Italy. He will be with us today online. And from India, Dr. Ritu, she will be here with us today. We'll have a talk. So probably Carmen Navarro will talk more about this society. And we are very proud to work on bioregeneration of the gonads, because if you bioregenerate the gonads, you'll have normal hormones, you'll have long life, so you'll get a longevity, and probably we can live more safety, and we have new generation of children, normal children here. So whatever we do, we build for us, for our children and grandchildren, in a world of happiness, innovation, peace, of course, peace, we need peace, and caring. So thank you so much to all of you, and thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was really interesting. And also we have to admit that through our evolution, usually when the man was looking up to the sky and was looking for a way of innovating in the space, these kind of technological benefits came actually down on Earth for us, you know, and help us to advance not only from a technological point of view, but from medical and all kind of domains. So thank you very much for the presentation. And right now we are actually looking forward to the recording message of Professor Zavos, who is founder, director, and chief of Andrology at the Andrology Institute of America, like you said, the father of Andrology. So we are looking forward to his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Professor Zavos, and a lot of people know me as the father of Andrology, which is the area that treats male infertility. Today, I'm having the opportunity to speak to you about tissue rejuvenation, and you're going to hear from me about the use of stem cells in treating and rejuvenating tissues and organs, and hopefully the whole body. But I'm also addressing you today as the honorary president of the newly formed Society of Global Gonadal Rejuvenation, which is a society that is aimed to develop technologies, know-how, and expertise in rejuvenating the gonads, which of course the gonads being the centerpiece of the body and the ones that really control our youth and our longevity and all the other good things that go along with us as human beings. I'm also going to talk to you today, and you're going to hear from me from a video preparation that I've given before, how stem cells can be used in rejuvenating tissues, and how can they be used in medicine today to formulate new tissues, rejuvenate tissues, and use those tissues in transplantation and other modalities that the future may bring. We're talking about a very exciting field, and I'm hoping that you'll enjoy today the presentation about the stem cells. Thank you, and I'm wishing you the best.
I'm going to talk to you about the most powerful cell that we have in our body, namely the stem cell. And stem cell is the basic unit of life that we all have, millions of them in our bodies. And then we can trigger various different types of activities that we can give command to a cell like that to rescue us, if you will. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this rescue thing. Stem cells obviously are, like I said, they're in millions in our bodies. They move around, they execute things properly, and they replicate, just like everything else. So via mitosis, that's just cell division, the cells can obviously divide into two. The one can give rise to a neuron cell, and of course, replenish itself automatically. So we don't run out of gas here. We got plenty of it. Then, of course, we do have two different kinds of stem cells. We have the embryonic stem cells, and we have the adult stem cells. We have embryonic stem cells as long as we're an embryo. After we become adults, then we lose those embryonic stem cells, and we have plenty of populations of adult stem cells. Now, I'm going to point out to you that obviously we lose a great potential when we get rid of the embryonic stem cells, because embryonic stem cells are very potent stuff. Are the ones that obviously occur at a very early stage at an embryo, and then they give rise to all the tissues that we know of that make you up, which is about 236 tissues in your body. Then, of course, the adult stem cells are just localized, so to speak, and they can sort of rescue various different organs at different locations at different times. In other words, the heart has its own adult stem cells, the liver, the kidneys, the intestines, the skin, and what have you. And so when those things are injured, those adult stem cells are highly specialized to go to that tissue level that is damaged and rescue it, rehabilitate it. If you have a heart attack, that's what you go to. And if you don't have any stem cells, you better call your cardiologist and your heart expert to rescue you, because you don't have an internal rescue system per se. The magic thing about what we do in the stem cell area is the fact that we are learning how to educate them and how to give them commands. And that is really the most exciting thing that is happening to us today. Imagine for a moment if you had 100 kids and you let them loose in the schoolyard without a teacher and without an education, they're going to become a bunch of outlaws. But if you train them and you give them special commands and you know the language that they speak, then you can take this endothelial cell and make it into a mesothelial cell, which of course can rescue your skin. So we can make skin cells out of giving specific commands to those cells, and I'm going to talk a little bit further as we go along. Now, if you think that this is just a kind of a shouting game, that you shout at the cells and say, "Yeah, come on, I want you to come over and have a cup of coffee or something else with me," obviously that's not as easy as that. In order to do these kinds of things that I'm describing to you, you need a couple of basketball teams of experts. Now, if you don't know what a basketball team is, it's a member of 5 people that play basketball. 2 makes it 10. So we have to have engineers and computer experts and doctors and scientists and all kinds of things, including obviously behaviorists and ethologists and all kinds of different denominations, because very simply, if you do the wrong thing, and I discovered that to be the case in America, and I ended up, obviously, before various audiences, they can chew you up and spit you out live and in color. So here I am now. I am sworn in before the Congress of the United States to testify for stem cells, and clone embryos. Now, how do those two relate? I'm going to explain further as we go along. However, I was able on August 7th, 2001, to tell the Congress of the United States to get down to their senses and stop politicizing things and appropriate money and begin to legislate in order to protect people like me and others, to get ourselves involved in this kind of research, because very simply we know how to maneuver and manipulate the most powerful cells in our bodies, and we can change the world how we diagnose a disease and how we treat a disease. Therefore, those are remarkable things that we have to do. Now, if you think for a moment that speaking to the Congress of the United States is an easy assignment, think again. Because very simply, you can obviously motivate a bunch of crooks how to make sense and listen to the people of America. I want to tell you that in the cloning business, which of course is related to stem cells, we were able to write up some very serious milestones, and we published this data, so nobody can argue about that. We were able to create the first clone embryos in the history of the world. We were able to transfer the first clone embryos in women to get them pregnant and give rise to a child clone. And then, of course, we were also able to develop a lot of different technology that enables us to understand how the system works and how we can put it to work. Just to give you an example, we created the first clone hybrid embryos via which we use cow eggs and human genome. And we put it all together, and we had a hybrid clone. Now, this hybrid clone cannot survive and give rise to a child. However, we were doing this in order to understand how the dynamics work when we put the human genome into a cow egg, so we can understand how we can put the human genome into a human egg and get results. And we're able to achieve a great deal because when they created Dolly, they used 370 eggs to create 22 clone embryos. That's less than 5% success. We were able, with this modeling business that we do, to obviously be about 50% successful instead of only 5% successful. And those were part of our criticism that we received. Now, we understand today that in order to create a three-dimensional tissue, that we need to teach those stem cells how to climb up on a scaffold and begin to build a three-dimensional configuration type of a structure. Furthermore, we were able today to sort of develop the modeling business and begin to treat various different types of diseases that obviously people suffer from. Anywhere from skin, to liver, to spleen, to pancreas, and then of course we are hoping also to rehabilitate people that are missing limbs, and I'm going to discuss that as we go along. One thing that is really very exciting, I gave a talk at King's College about a few years back, how to treat an infarct, a heart attack, using stem cells. And I took the work of a Texas group that today has revolutionized the way that we treat heart attacks in humans. And by so doing, we can infuse the stem cells that you see here through this tubing that is delivered at the site of the infarct. And we have a special system that is developed and can be delivered in a three-dimensional configuration at the site of the heart attack and deliver the goods, and by so doing, obviously, initiate the rehabilitation process of heart attack victims. Now, normally, a heart attack victim loses about 60 to 80% of the tissue when they have a heart attack. With this, they lose less than 20% of the tissue. Therefore, they regain, and they do it faster. So this is remarkable technology, and of course, you know very well that in America, we die a lot from heart attacks. In Cyprus, for instance, it's the #1 killer, as I understand, and it's about time that Cyprus gives up the frappe, the souvlaki, and start walking, if you want to live longer. Now, we also created the first clone embryos or embryos via embryo splitting. What we do here is that we are able to take a 4-cell stage embryo that you see here, remove 2 cells out of that, bring them over here and shoot them directly into a zona that is empty, and we can create 2 embryos that are clone of each other. They're identical twins. Now, when I went to England and I said I want to create the first human being that can come with a spare tire, I really meant to say that the first embryo can be made into a baby, the second embryo can be frozen and used later, 30, 40, 50 years later, as a source of embryonic stem cells in order to rehabilitate, that individual in case of an injury. Moral of the story is that we want to look futuristically. We want to look down if a car manufacturer can create a car with a spare tire, why can't we create a human with a spare tire? We need it. Now, we came a long way, and today we can create actually stem cells from skin cells, and therefore we may not need this particular technology, but think for a moment that you can take this and then freeze the other embryo, and then 20 years later you can say, I really want to have a twin brother born. Let's transfer it and see how the little one looks. That would be remarkable, wouldn't it? Scientists are now capable of making stem cells from skin cells, as I indicated. This is really revolutionizes the whole picture about how we're going to deal with stem cells in the future. And stem cells today are used for in vivo as well as in vitro, meaning we can do it in a live situation or in a petri dish, where we can create things and put it all together. We can treat people with joint injuries. We can treat people with liver deficiencies and liver diseases. Hepatitis A, B, and C is killing the world, especially the B's and the C's. And of course, if you keep drinking, you're probably going to need one of those anyway. So that's the future. Now, recently a group in LA developed this technology, which of course is not too far off, that we can infuse the stem cells. Oh, I'm so sorry, I went too far. They can infuse the stem cells after we grow them in a petri dish inside the posterior chamber of the eye, and by so doing, we can regenerate the retina, which is the tissue that enables you to see. And for those people that have detached retinas or injured retinas, then that becomes an issue. Now, I happen to be an organ transplant myself, and I had a cornea transplant about 2 years ago because I suffered from a corneal laceration, changing a light bulb in a microscope, being a dedicated scientist. I blew up a light bulb that cut my eye and injured me, and I had a cornea transplant, and today, because of that allotransplantation, meaning that I used a cornea from a cadaver, from a dead person, to transfer into my left eye, I have to infuse the immunosuppressant that suppresses the rejection of my cornea every day. Now, if we create embryos or anything from the stem cells or any cells that you have, and we transplant them in you, this particular problem is alleviated completely. Therefore, the rejection of the tissues, which happens up to 60% of the time, is not quite there. It's less than 20%. And therefore, the complications are reduced tremendously, and success rate goes up sky high. Now, our team, because we're reproductive specialists, we develop a technology now, and I can't talk too much about it because we haven't published it yet, where we can take males that do not produce sperm cells in their testes, and by infusing stem cells in the testes directly, we can get those testes to go back to producing sperm cells again, and those men can obviously biologically reproduce and have biological children of their own. That's very important. And we Cypriots take that very seriously, don't we? Now, this scaffolding business is very important because we're simply, by creating three-dimensional configuration scaffolds, we can teach the stem cells how to create a trachea. This is a human trachea that is developed in vitro and is ready to be transplanted in an individual that obviously had tracheal cancer of some sort. Therefore, this is very important, and we can do this routinely. Routinely meaning that anybody that wants a trachea, we can take a plastic tube that you see here, embed it with a bunch of stem cells around it, and differentiate into, obviously, epithelial cells and what have you, and create a trachea that can be transplanted in you, and then you don't have a problem. Now, this is done for the first time almost 5 years ago in Spain. Today, it's becoming a routine process, and it's very successful, incidentally. Now, I want to show you this particular picture and tell you a little bit about this for a moment. I was going to show you a video yesterday, but today I decided not to, but just to describe for you that now the technology in the laboratory can create an image of a heart. And now by using three-dimensional printing, as we call it, we can take that heart image in a three-dimensional configuration and have the three-dimensional printer over here. Instead of infusing ink, we're infusing stem cells, and therefore those stem cells can create an organ that can be transplanted further. The sky is the limit. So, long story short, ladies and gentlemen, the facts are that what I just told you is not a story. Stem cells are here to stay, and the facts speak for themselves. This is no fantasy anymore. This is the real thing. And I thank you.
So at the moment, I will just pass to our next speaker, who will talk about beyond human judgment, the artificial intelligence-driven decision-making in IVF, which is a highly interesting topic for today in IVF society, and not only for the Romanian people, but for all the IVF clinics abroad. So I'm inviting Madam Nicoleta Zamfir, who is Director of the Fertility Institute of Regina Maria, to tell us a little bit more about the artificial intelligence in IVF. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here with all the guests present online and offline. Also, congratulations to Media Uno for keeping this subject still on the table. After the European Fertility Week, to have another subject, another discussion on infertility, it's more than welcome. So my topic today, AI-driven decision-making in IVF. One second. I'll walk you through one second. Okay. You should be an embryologist. I'll walk you through the reshaping IVF landscape, where AI fits in Fertility Institute, so our personal experience with AI, and what we learn from AI. So I want to start my presentation with mentioning that the IVF journey, as everybody before said, it was a scientific marvel with a profound human impact, which tracked back to 1978, when we all know Louise Joy Brown was born. We had the pleasure to meet her 2 weeks ago, as she is a ferocious fighter for the fertility patients' right, infertile patients' right. So, as you take a look at this map, it starts 1978 and it ends estimated 2030. So you will see it all started with Louise Brown, and how the market developed then with, in 1992, introduction of ICSI, in 2005, introduction of vitrification, and then around 2000, and then you will see that from 2005 until 2010, the market doubled. But then in 2010, it started easily with the introduction of EmbryoScope time-lapse, and then it just went up, and it will estimate, and with the estimation for 2030. In 2023 and 2024, the AI was widely used in fertility clinics. The benefits of integrating artificial intelligence, it's definitely a significant advancement in reproductive medicine. While traditional IVF relies on human skill, which is still needed, the AI-driven IVF relies on data, consistency, automation, and predictive accuracy. Let me mention, the most important, it is only a tool and not a treatment. That's why I mentioned what it can do and what it cannot do. So it can support embryo selection with image-based analysis. It can improve consistency and reduce greater variability. It can analyze time-lapse embryo development. It can prioritize embryos. It can automate repetitive tasks. And it can assist clinicians with the decision support insights. What it cannot do, and this is also as important as what can do, it cannot guarantee pregnancy or live birth. It cannot, and I have to emphasize, it cannot replace embryologist or clinical judgment. It cannot replace diagnostic genetic abnormalities. It cannot predict outcomes with certainty. It cannot fully explain decision in black box models. It cannot compensate for poor lab condition or low quality data. And it can generalize perfectly across all clinics, population, or equipment. It can be integrated in patient selection, embryo selection, clinical decision support, and lab automation. When starting this subject, I want us to look at our lab because we will share our experience with the AI. We perform roughly 1,200 cycles per year. That is 8,200. It's the number of cycles in Romania. We do have in our team 5 senior embryologists. I checked early this morning how many seniors there are in seniors accredited by ESHRE. There are 18, and we also have 5 junior. We do use at this point 2 tools. We have one for oocyte assessment and one for embryo selection. The one for oocyte assessment, it predicts oocyte quality, personalized scoring, and optimizes IVF cycle, while the one for embryo selection, it helps us evaluate embryo viability, it delivers automated ranking, and it supports implantation. So how we started. In the middle of 2024, we integrated the AI blastocyst grading within the embryology lab of Fertility Institute. One year later, in the middle of 2025, we presented our experience with this specific tool during the ESHRE Congress. It was not easy. We analyzed 4,025 blastocysts, and our conclusions, because we also we looked at the pro and also the cons. At the beginning, the initial hurdles were the growing workload, the learning curve, the camera and image limitations, the reluctance to change, and this is important to mention, the scoring compatibility, and the clinician communication, the embryologist and clinician. But it did brought a lot of benefits. The AI data-backed insights, it minimized subjectivity and boosted consistency across evaluation. It helped us take smarter clinical decisions with reliable image-driven analysis. As you can imagine, we use the tool, started to use our own experience and our own images and way of working in the lab, and this helps us a lot because we are also helping the tool to grow. It improved lab efficiency with standardized and repeatable workflow, and it definitely delivered clear data-backed embryology reports and most important, shareable insights for patients. What our embryologists are saying, and this is definitely a code, they say that as an embryologist, precision is key when selecting embryos for transfer and freezing, and that this specific tools offers, and I like very much what it offers, an extra layer of AI-driven analysis that supports decision-making without replacing our expertise. The key benefits for our activity, the consistency, efficiency, accuracy, the patient support, the training and boosting confidence in junior embryologists because they are part of the process, being part of modern approach of IVF, and definitely and utmost the patient satisfaction. 1 year later, in 2025, we took a step further and integrated a new AI tool within our embryology lab, and we became exclusive partner in Romania with the first company in the world to develop an AI to predict egg viability and optimize clinical decision-making in fertility care and IVF. Both tools are CE marked, obtained this accreditation. The tool for oocyte assessment offers two specific assessments. One is for oocyte cryopreservation. It analyzes oocyte images to deliver objective, personalized predictions of blastocyst development. And the other one is specifically meant for IVF and ICSI, and it analyzes oocyte images to provide objective oocyte quality score correlated with high quality blastocyst development. We took a look at the results, and of course, as anybody should figure, the euploid insights decline with age. But what is specific and what it helps is it look at between 30 and 35. We did find some cases that were not supposed to be there. So what I'm trying to say is that for those specific patients, you can have a very personal approach and specific direction to be used. So it helped us very much with the insight and the personalized treatment we can offer to our patients. Also, for the Violet, which is the tool assessing oocytes only for cryopreservation, these are two cases from our clinics. The one on the left, it's a 23-year-old patient, and the other one is a 36-year-old patient. In both cases, as a clinician and embryologist, you probably have some expectations, but see, these are mixed. For the patient with 23 years old, it is lower than average, and this specific patient received a personalized approach. Maybe she needed one more procedure in order to have the number she needs in order to store in the bank. And the person of 33 years old, it was better than average, and maybe she did not need another process because it is neither easy nor cheap to undergo IVF. The noteworthy benefit for everybody, for embryologists, for clinicians, for fertility centers, and definitely for patients. For embryologists, it is extremely simple. It is consistently measures oocyte quality than the human eye. Dr. Denisa Protopopescu, no, they can only say if it is mature and the number of oocytes. In this case, it also gives probability scores, and it enhances documentation and creates an insurance policy for their work. For clinicians, they do gain a fuller picture of the patient's reproductive health with oocyte scoring added alongside standard sperm and embryo grading. It manages expectations, which are really, really important in the conversation with the patient to set the correct expectation and to help patients make informed decisions about their treatment, meet their needs with shareable and easy to interpret reports. And for us as a fertility clinic, it differentiates the patient experience, and we care a lot about the patient experience by providing take-home insight. It's not just a talk with the doctor or the embryologist, it's also backed up by data. And also the streamline operation and reduce cost with improved assessment that are more accurate, consistent, and efficient. I think what we learned, because it was purely our experience with while working and not giving up on two tools in our lab, the most important is that they are not replacing neither clinician nor embryologist, they are just empowering them. By integrated AI into IVF, we are transforming data into insight and insight into better patient outcomes. It helps us make smarter decisions, faster and with greater confidence. And I definitely love this, that it offers an extra layer of trust, which is provided by data. It's not, I'm emphasizing, it's not just a conversation, it's backed up by data. And the most important, it should be used responsibly. I truly believe in responsible IVF and responsible use of add-ons, ensuring privacy as a top priority when implementing. The last is a picture of the team, which is, I like to say, empowered by experience, but also by AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Really interesting, and I think these two tools, they are just, scratching the surface of what's gonna come in the next year, in terms like exactly like Madam Protopopescu was saying about the embryoscope, now about the assessment of the ovocytes and embryos. So I think sky is the limit for technology in terms of artificial intelligence, and it's only in the benefit of future patients, because it will also help reduce the costs and the number of lost pregnancies, and I think it's beneficial for all of us. I will invite Carmen Navarro, who is consultant of reproductive medicine and laparoscopic surgery, president of Women Fertility Center and Women Care Center, to take the floor. So, Ms. Navarro, we are very happy to have you with us. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Denisa, Dr. Chadi Salim, Dr. Loana. Thank you so much at all. I would like to know if you are seeing my presentation, and I would like to know if you are listening to me.
Yes, we can hear you, see you, and we see also the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, let me put my chronometer in order to respect my time. Okay, thank you so much. Today I will talking about more about fertility for the future. All you have a good and interesting presentation, but now, I have a problem. Okay. But now we know that fertility reaches its lowest rate. Its lowest rate. People are having fewer babies, and every day we have the question, it is really the end of the world. When we can see the statistics around the world, we can see that every day we have so low babies, or bare babies, and now we know that 97% of the countries around the world, including Latin America, has the most lowest rate of pregnancies. Okay, and the projection for the future are very bad. For example, last year, the United Organization Nation published the statistic from Europe, and in Europe we have less than 1.2 live per woman, and the projection for the 2100 is hard, because maybe we can see more babies in the future, including these countries like China, India, I used to say, where the demographic population is more than another countries around the world. And in the future, for example, the projections say that in 2016, only 3 cities, no country, only 3 cities around the world will have 3.1 lives per woman. And this city will be Congo, Somalia, because the other cities and the other countries around the world will have less than 2 or 1 baby per woman. This is a very hard problem, because we know that women procrastinate the pregnancies. We know now that the women prefer to have the first pregnancies after 42 years, when the fertility rate is below the 50 or 5%. And maybe one of the big problems is that the population is changes around the world. We have now more urban population in comparison with a rural population. And this tendency, we can see the same tendency around the world: Asia, Africa, Caribbean, Europe, New Zealand, USA, and women prefer studies and work before becoming mothers. And this is the projection that we can see at the triangle. In 1916, this was the distribution of the population around the world, and you can see the base of the triangle was occupied by the children less than 4 years. But this is the real projection now and the future, and for the future, and for 2016, and you can see here that the base of this feature is occupied by the babies less than 4 years, and is equal to the proportion of the people that have 70 and 74 years. Okay, new demographic projection says that in 2100, this is the proportion of young girls less than 14 years, and the more proportion of people will be the more than 66 years. Our world is destined to aging, and we have the big responsibility in our hands. We need to do something or more something in order to rescue these babies, in order to become our planet younger and not age younger. And what about the innovation and challenge in modern infertility treatment? Or you are talking about all the marvelous thing that we can do in our laboratory, in our fertility clinic, but now we know that infertility affects 17 and 75% of couple. We know that now we are talking more about the EA. We talk about the selection of microtests for azoospermia, like Dr. Zavos taught us in her conference, and in vitro follicle activation, even for ever small follicles. And I would like to ask you that pay close attention in this phrase, because now we are working with these follicles, that the more little follicles, maybe this is the future, the future of the fertility. We are now talking about the CRISP. We have in our hands the opportunity to use the CRISPR in order to correct the genetic defects in our future babies. Okay, but the future of fertility treatment lies in harmonizing technological precision with compression care of optimized both clinical outcomes and quality of life. Sorry. Okay. But developing fertility ID, doctor that preceded me talk about the ID in the fertility treatment. We can improve accurate and implantation rate. We can evaluate morphological parameters for select all the perfect embryos in order to elevate the pregnancies. We can precisely select the perfect protocol for induction for our patient. We can select the perfect sperm, like total DNA integrity, optimal motility, and we can now talk more about the characteristics of uterine vaginal microbiome in order to improve our result. But the reality here is not what EA can do for us or for our patient. The really here, the big really is that the problem is the reproductive gene. Man and women have an gene, and now in our world we have an accelerated aging of our gonadal, and when these people come in our clinic, they want to be father with their own gonads, with their oocyte, with their sperm. They want, or they refuse ovodonor, or they refuse sperm donor, and it's so many important that we pay close attention and this study, because now we can learn about the what happened inside to the environment of the sperm, inside to the testicle, and now we know that inside to the sperm, inside to the testicles, lipid peroxidation harms some damage inside to the sperm, something are not yet detected by EA. Okay, although the sperm of men over 40 years may appear perfect, paternal age is associated with higher rates of sperm peroxidation, as you can see in this slide, higher rate of DNA fermentation, and this man maybe can have more higher children with autism and attention deficit disorders and early miscarriage. It's impossible that EA can predict all these signs, but if we talk about the oocytes, we select our oocytes with EAT and with the perfect maturation, perfect shape and function. And when we use EA, and maybe you can correct me if I am mistake, we need oocytes, mature oocytes, because we need do a baby when we are doing our procedure in the laboratories in our clinic. But in this work published for Dr. Nina Dini, she talked about the DNA damage that is relationship with age of our patient. It's true. We can see more damage of DNA in other oocytes, but she do an interesting work, and she take two kinds of oocytes in the laboratory. The jungle oocyte, and in this case, she take jungle oocyte, but not jungle oocytes for the mixed jungle. No, the same mixed, because this work with maize was made in maize in laboratory, and she decided that the jungle oocyte was those who diameter was less than 0.3 millimeter, and all oocytes in this study was this oocyte that has M1 or M2 oocytes in this study, and she submitted this oocyte to oxidative damage similar to aging. Okay, she used neocarcinostatin, okay? Neocarcinostatin in order to produce an stress oxidative. But the interest in this result, she can see that it was shown that in mature or small oocytes are better resisting oxidation and repairing DNA when nest conditions are adequate. Maybe the problem, I only say the same side, maybe the problem is not the age, because we know that we are talking about the oocyte net, but maybe the oocyte the oocyte net. But the environment in the ovary is the problem, because we can look inside to the ovary for another oocyte. In 2024, you remember that Victor and Gray win the Nobel Prize, because they're talking about the microRNA and this fantastic particle that can carry a message to all our organisms about the necessities and about the important that is microRNA in the protein synthesis. And we know that now the proteome is so many important when we talk about the health and when we talk about the seed. Now we analyze the proteomics and in ovary feeder, and we know that in the ovary feeder we have 225 different kinds of proteins, and for this reason the ovary of the feeder have the possibility to create so many oocytes and so many meiotic divisions. But when the woman aging, only about 67 protein remained in the oocyte that completed this maturation. And this is a notch for the woman in order to have the folliculogenesis and hormone synthesis equal, okay? We know now that ovarian proteome is a good prediction for biological aging, not only anti-Mullerian hormone, FSH, LH, and estradiol, because we know that maybe if we improve the environment of the ovary environment, we can stimulate this litter of this jungle oocyte that doctor talking in her work. Now we know that we have a complex oocyte mammalian, and we have a complex proteome in ovary that we can work. And another interesting thing that we can learn about the proteome is that when we have problem in gametogenesis, implantation, female disease, and fertility, maybe this is because proteome have some alteration, and we can do the transformation of this condition, and maybe we can improve the results in our patient. And now, if you ask me what the future about the fertility, I need to tell you about the exosomes, because exosomes is maybe one of the best features of the medicine regenerative, because cells need to communicate with another secretory vesicles in order to go and looking for information in health cell and sick cell, and in this form they communicate and bind of biological system. I would like to share with you, I promise that I am ending my intervention, but it's so many important. This is one of our article. This article is public in regenerative therapy. In regenerative therapy, you can see more of our result. With this work, this is a prospective randomized study with 67 patients, and we use 3 groups, okay, with FSH, with autologous exosome, with PRP, and physiological solution inside to the cortex of the ovary for 3 months. And after we evaluate the results in our patient, and you can see here the changes in the FSH before and after the treatment. You can see here our result about fertility treatment with different 3 groups, and you can see here our result with the pregnancies. And this is another paper that we are doing the publication. Here we work with Dr. Zavos Panos and Dr. Shadi Salim, and we use an exosomes in order to do the maturation, in vitro maturation of these oocytes M1 on vesicle or germinal vesicles using an aliquoted autologous exosome, because you know that only 10% of this oocyte maybe can maturate in our laboratory, but we can see that 75% of this oocyte research maturation in our laboratory when we put autologous exosome, and we have the best communication in these granulocellulars. We have so many embryos in this kind of patient. And another word, okay, we use an ovarian regeneration with autologous exosome to improve menopausal symptoms. Okay, we are doing inside to the ovary, because remember that ovary is not only important for fertility. Ovary have the responsibility to produce 95% of all steroid hormones, and women need this hormone in order to become healthy in the future, okay? And 6 months after the application of autologous exosomes in our patient, this is a preliminary study, we can we can see that the estradiol level increases by 30%, FSH levels below, LH levels below, and menopausal symptoms include flash houses lost rise and all that you can see here. This patient have the best on 64%. The feature for the reproductive medicines improves the microenvironments of the gonadal, ovaries, and testicle. Remember, ovarian and testicle are not only important for fertility. Remember that the expectancy of life is higher now, and we must provide our patient for the future without illness. Another point important is that the development of gonial and spermats need two-step oxidation among time-bitten eggs and sperm. Now in SRM last year, we was talking in more different conference about the importance that we must do to this little oocyte. That site is less than 0.3 millimeter. Maybe last time this oocyte don't have any importance to us, but now we know that this is the feature. This is the real feature of our fertility treatment. An improved gonadal function with the stem cell, growth factor, and exosome, not only for fertility. We must think about the longevity of our patient, and we are working with Dr. Chadi Salim, Dr. Zavos and I in this interesting work. Let me to present our society. We are a global organization of gonadal bioregeneration. Maybe you think that we are crazy, but I think that the scientists, the different that do the scientific is that we work to the future, and we think that all is not discovered. Is so many important that we can give our patient another solution. We must work more inside to the gonadal, because we every day discover any new thing, any new note about the what or how we can restore the activity of the ovary and the testicle. This is all okay. Let's work together to live a better for the world, a better future for the world. And I would like to ask you, please, that join us. This is our website. This is our social media. We will have our first webinar for November 25. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I take this opportunity to congratulate you for founding this organization, and we are very happy to have you next to us online, and obviously honored to have Madam Protopopescu next to us. She actually told us a few words about the association before your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Navarro. I really appreciate what you've done. And I thank you all to being together today. And hopefully in the near future we got together again. Thank you so much.
I will pass now to Dr. Chadi Salim, and thank you very much for the patient, who is a consultant of obstetrics, gynecology, and IVF president of Arab Society of Fetal Medicine and Surgery, and chief board of New Cleopatra Women Health Center, and the board member of World Cosmetic Gynecology Society and coordinator of IVF Diploma. Dr. Salim, we are very happy to have you online. You have the floor.
Good afternoon for all my great friends at Romania, and most welcome my dear friend Dr. Denisa, and many thanks for this nice invitation. Most welcome from Egypt. This is me with ancient Egyptian dress. We talk today about the embryo transfer. There is two types of embryo transfer. The first one is making embryo transfer by clinical touch. And the second one is making embryo transfer by ultrasound guidance. How we can do embryo transfer by clinical touch? We put speculum examination, then exposure of the cervix, cleaning the ectocervix with media or saline, removal of cervical mucus using insulin syringe, perform a dummy transfer, check which catheter is suitable, soft Wallace or Cock, inject HCG, intrauterine injection of 500 international unit of HCG before embryo transfer, statistically significantly improved the implantation and the pregnancy rate in IVF-XC. And this paper made by Professor Raja Mansour from Egypt at 2011. Then embryologists bring the loaded embryos, then insert catheter wait for a few seconds up to 1 minute to minimize uterine contraction that occur from manipulation. Then inject embryos and wait again for a few seconds and keep pressure on the syringe to prevent back suction of the embryos into the catheter. Close the speculum while doing that. Return the catheter back to the lab to check and confirm the embryos have definitely been injected. The speculum is left for 5 to 10 minutes before removal to minimize manipulation and contraction. The patient is left to rest for 2 hours, and this only for psychological, not scientific support for that. This is clinical touch method, and this is now prohibited. We do only embryo transfer under ultrasound guidance. Patient should have a full bladder. Abdominal ultrasound is performed to see the cervix and uterine cavity. Use a special embryo transfer catheter that is echogenic. Then we wanted to ask ourselves, are there any factors can increase the success rate of embryo transfer? Yes. If there is any hydrosalpinx in any tube, the fluid present in hydrosalpinx is toxic for the embryo, and this can lead to failure of implantation or early abortion. So if there is hydrosalpinx, we must do laparoscopy and making laparoscopic tubal disconnection. This increases the success rate of embryo transfer. Also, the second issue is be careful to insert the catheter without any injury of endometrium, as if there is bleeding, this decreases the success rate. So after remove your catheter from endometrium, please check the catheter. If there is no bleeding, this is a very good embryo transfer. But if there is any bleeding on the catheter, this means there is injury to the endometrium, and this enhance uterine contraction, and uterine contraction interfere with implantation. So be careful during embryo transfer to prevent or to do embryo transfer without bleeding. Also, type of catheter used. Various catheters are used for embryo transfer, differing in terms of rigidity, girth, and overall shape. If the catheter is soft, it is better than rigid catheter. Also, please don't touch by your catheter, don't touch the fundus. And do embryo transfer, and the tip of the inner sheath of the catheter must be in the middle of uterine cavity, or at least be far from the fundus 1 or 2 centimeters to prevent trauma of the embryo. Also, avoiding touching of the cervix by tenaculum. Why? Due to touching or grasping of the cervix by tenaculum also enhance increase of prostaglandin. Prostaglandin enhance uterine contraction also interfere with implantation. After you put the cascospiculum, you must look for external os of the cervix. If there is mucus plug in the external os, you can remove it. This is my question. Still, there is a debate about there is benefit from removal of this mucus plug or no. But for me, I don't remove it. Also, you must do ultrasound, especially if you have vaginal 3D probe. It is important to do vaginal ultrasound to study the uterine cavity before starting of IVF protocol, to know are there any uterine cavity abnormalities can interfere with implantation or no, as if there is small fundal endometrial polyp or submucous polyp, etc. The next is keeping catheter stationary for at least 1 minute. This practice may be more for a cautionary measure to mitigate trauma or prevent irritation. Then 30 minutes rest after transfer. When IVF was first implemented, patients had to rest flat on their backs for 24 hours after the procedure. Embryo transfer has since evolved into an outpatient procedure, with most women having only a few minutes rest. Recent research suggested that bed rest for 30 minutes was not important, and extended bed rest after embryo transfer doesn't affect pregnancy rate. But still, our patients want to take a rest, and some patients want to take a bed rest for 9 months after embryo transfer. But there is no evidence about importance of bed rest. Dummy transfer before treatment. The role of mock embryo transfer is generally considered unrelated to the success of the actual embryo transfer. In my practice, I do dummy transfer before starting a protocol of induction, as maybe the case has pinpoint cervix, so I will do dilatation for these pinpoint cervix before starting the induction of. Ultrasound guided transfer now is mandatory. Ultrasound guidance during embryo transfer improved the placement of the catheter tip with respect to the endometrial surface. Now there is no clinical touch. According to ESHRE guideline, all embryo transfer must be done under ultrasound guidance. And many thanks for you for this very short lecture, and I'm very happy to be with you today, and also invite you to come to Egypt to visit the great Egyptian Museum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salim. Actually, yeah, congratulations for the newly inaugurated GEM museum. I had the chance to see it in February, so myself, I'm considered very lucky. But obviously, we are expecting you in Bucharest, maybe for the next debate at the Bucharest Leaders Summit. Why not?
Yes,
would be amazing. Yeah, thank you very much. We will pass now to our next speaker, Irena Gosheva, who is a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology, Biotech Obstetric Gynecology Department in Skopje, North Macedonia. Thank you very much for being today with us, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much for... Can I share? Yeah. My best regards to everyone here. Some I know you in person, some are true legends here. King regards to Dr. Denisa. I would now start my... Is it okay now, the screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes, we see the presentation. Thank you.
So my presentation is a bit different from other ones. It's more about the IVF and the system. And let me just put it as a slideshow. So it's about straightening the primary gynecology in order to improve the fertility and reduce the IVF costs. I must say, first and foremost, I used to work in an IVF center. So right now I'm working from like every point, but not the IVF directly. But now I see all the key points in the system that are really connected with the referral of the patients, with the costs. So I would like to emphasize the importance of the primary gynecology in the early detection and prevention in order to screen for PCOS, thyroid disorders, ovulation issues, because most of the patients come to an IVF specialist with some disorder that could have been handled in the primary gynecology setting. What is also important is the treating of the infection before they cause infertility. So we need to heighten the awareness of the STDs, and we need to include the whole STD programs that can prevent further complications from the sexually transmitted disease, which one of them is infertility. So here, basically, most important is implementing a true sexually transmitted disease program on a national level, as well as detecting the endometriosis early. And what is really important is the counseling about age-related fertility decline. Most of the patients that are not aware about the age-related fertility decline, and most of them tend to feel forever young, but we are here as gynecologists, especially on the primary level, gynecologists should maintain awareness that they can feel forever young, but they're not forever young. So the fertility is a time frame in the life, which is very connected with the time zone. And what is really important is that they have awareness on this issue, and not just to common gynecologists and to see, okay, this is all good, this is all good. And then they tend to think that even the reproductive function is good, and they're not aware of the fertility alone. So we need to, all of the primary gynecologists need to focus on the counseling about the age-related fertility decline. Also, many of the patients that can be solved in a primary setting should be solved. So the IVF centers are not overcrowded, and the IVF specialists are not overburdened with some basic stimulation, ovulation inductions that could have been made with letrozole, clomiphene in a primary setting. Because now many of the gynecologists, especially in our healthcare system, tend to send the patient straight away to an IVF specialist. Well, first, let's make a clear referral list to who goes at an IVF specialist. So maybe we should start here. We should start some defined protocols on a primary gynecology level that could be done before the patient is sent for an IVF consultation. Also, we should, because most of the patients, they have some chronic metabolic and insulin resistance with PCO, we should start with the management first and foremost, and then to make the patient optimized for an IVF treatment further. Also, to mention the thyroid and the prolactin treatment and the male factor evaluation. Most of the couple end up at an IVF specialist just so they can be counseled that even the male should be evaluated. All of these things should be done on a primary gynecology level with a clear list of the things what should be done and a clear referral list for an IVF consultation. Also, what is really important and what we don't overemphasize is the weight and the body mass optimization. We don't have clear data, even I don't know, maybe from state level should be done. What's the percentage of the obese patients going through an IVF treatment, which is not right. While during the process, even if the patient has clear criteria for an IVF referral, she should be referred after the weight and the body mass index is optimized in the normal range. So therefore we can, if the time, of course, is here considered, so we can have better results from the IVF. Also, vitamin D correction, thyroid normalization, and of course, the primary healthcare gynecology should include the lifestyle and nutritional programs, and also include the preconception supplements. Not just to refer couples so they can be advised about the supplements and then come for a 3 months later checkup. What is really important is the timely referral of the patients, because the primary gynecologist can reduce unnecessary IVF referrals if we perform anti-Müllerian hormone testing to all women above 35. We do all the prepare hormonal panel, the tubal patency test, the pelvic ultrasound, the male factor, and to refer only the patients that have strict criteria for IVF. Regarding the lifestyle, counseling can significantly improve fertility. If we all say to the patients, we put you in a weight loss program, nutritional program, reduce the stress, so they can have also centers in the primary gynecology healthcare system where they can be referred to a mental health support. So the right counseling about sleep, exercise, and smoking cessation. Also, we can be included the primary healthcare gynecology in preventing secondary infertility. The postpartum and long-term follow-up will reduce the future IVF. So therefore, it is very important to counsel the patients for the inter-pregnancy interval, and they should know when is the best time to conceive after the first child, and if they are under 35, they can still try for 1 year, above 35 for 6 months, and then come for a full panel of exploration and checkup. So we should do the public health fertility education with early testing campaigns, the education, which is really and foremost important about the fertility decline after 35, and counseling the young women on reproductive planning, which is something that we say it right now, but if we implement it in the everyday practice, it will be very good. The primary gynecology is something that every state should focus, especially with the infertility related, because it's the most cost-effective fertility strategy. It can prevent infertility in some cases. It will increase the natural conception rates, improve the IVF success with fewer cycles, and it will lower the national health care expenditure. So also here, when we speak to the fertility age fertility decline rate, the government can also support. So if women freeze eggs too late due to lack of awareness, then it will be a non-effective procedure, and it will be a financial burnout for the woman. But if we maintain to earlier freezing regarding the whole career and the concept of new living, if we advise the patients for early freezing, then we will have higher success rates that will reduce in the future the need for multiple costly IVF cycles. Therefore, the government can do financial support options for like co-finances. They can either make full coverage for medical indications in patients that are oncological or have endometriosis for OSAT freezing, 50% with subsidy for elective freezing age from 30 to 35, or fixed cost for reimbursement for the first cycle, income-based support for low-income women. There are many, many options. So the awareness for the fertility education campaign is that education on fertility to every woman on the primary healthcare system, maintain the education across the universities and workplace, and to test all women with AMH from 30 till 35. So we should also apt for coverage for medical fertility preservation from government in case of cancer patients before chemotherapy, premature ovarian insufficiency risk, autoimmune and genetic risk group, severe endometriosis. These women should not be left alone. And oocyte freezing should become a part of the family planning, to be part of the counseling in the primary gynecology, and to have standardized referral system of the patients, which patient should be for oocyte freezing, which patient is for IVF, which one is from the government, and which one is for half paid, something like that, and to have clear guidelines. Regarding the guidelines, many societies have different guidelines. NICE have some different suggestions. The ESHRE has different suggestions. The ASA, American Society of Reproductive Medicine, they tend to have some slight differences, which might be huge differences regarding the financial cost. So therefore, procedures should be more standardized. Options should be set to the patients. For example, this is not just a simple IVF, I don't know, this should be done extra, this should be done extra, this should be done extra, but all should be standardized from like one financial package that can range from one to another point, but not have a huge discrepancy. And also regarding the national registry in research, which is very important every country to have, because it creates long-term data and it can track the outcomes, the monitoring, the quality of the IVF labs, which I believe all of the countries have this. And this is one very important, the funding of research on cost effectiveness. The funding word is really important here in this sentence. Every society in every country should be able to obtain a funding regarding the research further on, whether it's for cost effectiveness, whether it's for the successfulness of a procedure, for sensitivity of one procedure or other. And as a conclusion, I would like to say that the government support is a strategic investment where it will improve the reproductive outcomes, reduce the future national IVF expenditure, and it will protect the fertility for high-risk women, and will strengthen national population and the public health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
But I would say useful information from all of the system regarding the whole system. And if you have any questions, I'm here. I'll be pleased to answer.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We all agree here at the table, and not only that, the early education begins in school about infertility, and obviously we need to inform and educate also different kind of specialty physicians, not only the gynecologists, but also the endocrinology and so on. Yeah, general practitioners as well, of course. And also, we actually participated 2 weeks ago in a session organized for the week of fertility, European Week of Fertility, where they found out that a baby who was founded through an IVF procedure supported by the government, it's actually returning the money to the state 10 times. So the state needs to understand that investing in IVF, it's actually an investment in the future of the population of the country, but the money will come back 10 times. And I wanted to underline this because many times we hear the thing that this is a project that, you know, we don't see the money back, and the investment we don't see just in the population, but it's not true. Ms. Gosheva, thank you very much for the presentation. I will pass to our next speaker, who is here next to us, waited patiently, Ms. Corina Ana Maria Miu, who is a biochemist, ESHRE senior clinical embryologist at the International Medical Center. And she will talk today about the IVF laboratory, secrets, innovation, and the future of embryology. And obviously we are all eyes and ears, because we know that in the embryology lab is actually where the miracles are happening. So we want to hear more about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for your introduction, and thanks all my colleagues for the beautiful presentations that I've heard today. Miracles happen in clinics, and this is a teamwork. So all of us have different fields of expertise, but our goal is the same. Thank you. So my goal today is to highlight the truly disruptive horizons in human embryology, and the critical conversation we as leaders today must have. So what is the current landscape? Our starting point is mastering embryo selection. As my colleagues already pointed out, we already master embryo selection, so let's quickly set our baseline. Today's standard of care is highly advanced. We've largely mastered embryo selection. First of all, we have AI in embryo selection, which means we have algorithms that analyze thousands of time-lapse images to predict implantation success non-invasively, which is a great breakthrough. That boosts success rates, and importantly can be implemented locally, as our colleagues already showed us, without complex legal hurdle, as the process is done on site. Secondly, we have vitrification techniques that ensures nearly 99% of survival rate of the embryos, and this optimizes treatment cycles as well. And patient health, avoiding risks like ovarian hyperstimulation, for example. And thirdly, we've already talked about PGT, but it is very important to mention it, where we analyze embryo's DNA for abnormalities or specific genetic diseases before transferring this embryo. And this involves either an invasive biopsy or most recent non-invasive methods by analyzing cell-free DNA. What about genetic correction? Because this is the real future. Okay, so the first horizon is in fact the shift from simply selecting the best embryo to having the power to correct a flawed one. The tool is already wide known, CRISPR-Cas9, often called genetic scissors, that can find, it's an enzyme that can find a genetic typo and replace it. The promise is huge in this case to eradicate monogenic diseases, severe illnesses caused by a single gene. Think about cystic fibrosis or Huntington's disease, for example. There is a study that was performed in 2015, so nearly a decade ago, by Schwank and colleagues, famously showed that CRISPR could correct a certain mutation in human cells, restoring CFTR protein function. This isn't just theory, it's a proven lab capability. So it's happening. But we have some ethical boundaries that we have to take into consideration. And this remarkable power that we've talked about comes with a core ethical dilemma, which is where do we draw the line between therapy and enhancement? Because we as humans will always want more and more for our species. Therapy is a noble thing because curing a devastating disease like cystic fibrosis, of course, interests us. But enhancement is contentious, and editing for non-medical traits like height, for example, or intelligence, or eye color, for example, it's a path toward high-tech eugenics. So there is a case in 2018 by Hijinwaki, which tragically showed that the technology is already ahead our ethics. So there are studies that are performed, not in the European Union, but in other jurisdictions, of course. Okay, so let's see about the regulatory landscape. As I was telling you, this brings us to why Europe often seems us a bit slower. And why is that? It's not lack of science or scientific talent, or not even, it's not a matter of money either, but it's a deliberate ethical choice. So we choose through the Oviedo Convention, Article 13, that we have principles, and European Union explicitly prohibits germline intervention. Our philosophy in the precautionary principle is banned until proven 100% safe. We prioritize ethics and safety. Other jurisdictions, as I told you, often follow permissionless innovation, meaning allowed until proven dangerous. This leads to faster discovery, of course, but with a much greater risk. This fundamental difference in philosophy is a major challenge for Europe's global competitiveness. What about synthetic gametogenesis? So the second horizon, and a very interesting one, is even more profound. We talk about in vitro gametogenesis. So we're talking about creating eggs and sperm from scratch, not just editing existing ones. This is a three-step process that already have been described by my former colleagues that presented. For example, Professor Zavos spoke a bit about this, about IVG, which means 3 steps: reprogramming, so we take a skin cell and rewind it into a blank slate stem cell, and then we have the differentiation part, the part where we guide the stem cell to become a precursor germ cell, and the maturation part, where we mature the cell into a functional egg or sperm. And in theory, this newly created gamete could end absolute infertility. and it's already been done in mice. Social implications. This IVG triggers a true social earthquake. If you ask me, if we can create gametes from any cell, the source is no longer limited by sex. So medically, this means a potential end to absolute infertility, of course, but socially, it opens the theoretical path for same-sex couples to have children genetically related to both partners. An egg from one's man's skin cell, for example, fertilized by another's man's sperm cell. This challenges our legal definition of parent and the very fabric of family, and it moves the debate further beyond the clinic into society and even in the courtroom. So what about the ethical reflections we should have? So it's a fact that this is the future, and we are living the era of human biological intervention that has begun from selecting to actively correcting and even creating life. So navigating this future requires a robust ethical framework that balances scientific progress with human values. And our decisions today will define the future of humanity. It's an imperative for global collaboration and, of course, responsible governance. And I don't have conclusions because only time will tell which are the conclusion. But, so as we chart this roadmap, I leave you with a few questions for our discussion. So we are the first generation with the power to design, correct, and even create human life. The question is no longer can we, but should we? And how do we govern this power responsibly? Who benefits and who is excluded? And what does humanity means in this new era of biological choice? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Indeed, it is truly interesting to find out what the future reserves us in terms of artificial intelligence, and not only until we land, you know, to the territory of legislation that will regulate all the IVF and embryology innovation. I think we need to, you know, to focus on whatever projects we have nationally and internationally, and finish with this, do more research, expand the knowledge and the information about infertility, you know, to a wider portion of the population. And I think the progress will come slowly after that as well. Now, it is my pleasure also to welcome Dr. Maria Stratan, who is a medical geneticist at the Cytogenomic Medical Laboratory, and who will talk today about the benefits of genetic testing in IVF. So welcome, Maria, and can you tell us a little bit more about the basic tests that we need in IVF and what we can do about it?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here today. And okay, I will talk a little bit about genetic test and benefits of genetic test in IVF. And the goal of genetic test in IVF is to increase the chance to have a healthy child. First of all, not only a pregnancy, but a healthy child. In IVF, we have at least four categories of genetic tests, like preconception, preimplantation, prenatal, and of course, postnatal also. We are very proud that we have in Romania, and we offer for many years this test in our country. We offer not only for children, but also tests like preconception, like basic tests like karyotype or also carrier screening, and we are also very proud that we have in our country our test for Romanian population, Linea Vita, that we recommend this test for all people that they want to have a healthy baby. When we talk about IVF, we talk about not only about carrier screening, about karyotype, but also about pre-implantation genetic test that we recommend all these years. Not a lot, but we have a lot of cases that we recommend this test. We have 3 groups like PGTA, PGT-SR, and PGTM, and we can do all this in our country, and this is important. There are some clinics that they have their protocols for this couple, a couple who is a carrier or they have a risk for a genetic disease or a child with a genetic disease. We have a protocol for this case, and we do PGTM for them. When we have a couple that they are carrier for a structural arrangement on their karyotype, we recommend to do PGT-SR, and we also can do this in our country. And for couples that they have all the analysis normal, they don't have a high risk for a genetic disease, or they have a normal karyotype, we recommend PGTA, a simple one, but we also can do in our country, and this is important.
Just before letting you go, I think it's truly important also to mention a few words about exactly what we were saying, you know, educating the population, and also about the age, like in infertile couples, you know, and the necessity of undergoing this genetic test when the person who is infertile, so to say, like a woman, is over 36 years old, because nowadays there is this rumor that you know, genetic is just an add-on to the IVF procedure, and it doesn't necessarily bring you know, something good to the procedure or to help in a certain way. So I want you to tell me a little bit more about, you know, what a couple who is, say, let's say over 36 years old, and they face infertility problems, they should start off, starting with the genetic counseling and adding on with the test. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, first of all, genetic counseling, I think it's very important, because I think a genetician can ask questions like this that will have more information about their family, about their genetic, how to say, genetic, yes, thank you, because we have a lot of cases like this. They come simple for a genetic counseling, and after that we can stop the IVF procedure because we need another test, like I don't know, a gene panels or something like this for the female or for men. I don't know, but we need to stop a little bit and to have an answer. First of all, if they have a risk to transmit, yes, this disease. But first of all, we recommend for all the people, for all the patients in IVF clinic, first of all, we recommend karyotype, and I think this is very important because we had surprises and we don't want this. Because for them it's very different also in pregnancy what we do and what we recommend after that. Karyotype, first of all, carrier screening for me is very important because I see also children after how to say, newborns or children affected, and for me, and I know the mechanism of the disease, and it's very important for them to understand it's not only to achieve a pregnancy, but also to have a healthy child in the end. And carrier screening, I think, is the second one, very important. And after that, we have also a test for like fertility test, NGS panels for oocyte maturations, for recurrent pregnancy loss, for for women, and also for men we have different tests for them also. But it's very important, first of all, to discuss with them, to understand what's the problem. But the basic test for me, it's karyotype and carrier screening, first of all.
Thank you very much. So, like a takeaway conclusion, it would be basically that genetic testing is actually helping the patient to optimize the time till pregnancy, to avoid miscarriages, and to give birth to healthy children. That would be the main conclusion, and also the fact that, you know, like karyotyping and carrier screening tests usually help, you know, to give birth to healthy children from parents without a history of any genetic affections.
Yes.
So that can be transmitted, and you can only find out by doing this test. So I think it's very important to underline this, because exactly like we were talking about infertility, also genetics is like a black hole for many physicians of different specialties, and I think we need to educate a little bit more about the benefits of genetic testing, not only in IVF but in general. Thank you very much, Dr. Stratan. I will go on now to our next speaker, who is Alina Comănescu. She is a patient, an advocate, and patient navigator, founder of the Romanian Community of Health Association, Asociația Sănătate pentru Comunitate, and we will speak for a very interesting topic, from awareness to action, building an equitable oncofertility pathway. So, Ms. Comănescu, thank you very much. It's lovely to see you again with us, and thank you for taking the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, esteemed participants, and I want to thank you, Media Uno, for inviting me to attend this important event. It's an honor to stand before you today to discuss a topic of profound importance, one that touches upon the very essence of life, hope, and the future for many Romanians battling cancer, the critical need for a national cancer-related fertility registry. Why am I talking about this sensitive topic? Because last year we conducted a survey among the cancer patients, and 58% of them were never referred to a fertility specialist, despite being a young person diagnosed with cancer, sometimes even a survivor. For too long, the primary focus in cancer were focused on survival. Thanks to Dr. Styra's efforts, advances in oncology have dramatically increased the number of cancer survivors in our country. This incredible achievement brings it a vital responsibility to ensure that surviving cancers patients does not means that they have to sacrifice the dream of building a family. So survivorship is not equal infertile. The desire for parenthood is a fundamental human aspiration, and for many, it forms an essential part of their post-treatment quality of life. We know that the modern oncology has made tremendous progress. Many cancers that were once fatal, and we are talking, for example, pediatric cancers, are now treatable or even curable. But for our young patients, children and adolescents mainly, survival is just a small part of the journey. After the shock of diagnosis, the challenges of treatment, they often face another devastating realization. They may lost their chance to have biological children. And I have to make a small, a small example here. I'm also a patient navigator, and unfortunately, I had to navigate one of my friend, a good friend child. He was 16 years old when he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and I strongly advise her to opt for fertility preservation, but in her mind, it was only my child has to survive. So she didn't even think about the quality of life of her child after the treatment. As clinicians, you are trained to save lives. As advocates, we fight for the rights and dignity for every patient, but without a system that systematically tracks, informs, and supports fertility in cancer care, we risk falling short both scientifically and ethically. However, despite these efforts, significant challenge persists. Many patients still do not receive timely and adequate information about the potential impact of cancer treatments in their fertility, nor are they constantly referred to a fertility specialist. For some oncologists, integrating fertility discussion into an already complex treatment plan may not feel like their primary role. The financial burden of fertility preservation is substantial, falling entirely on patients at the time when they are already facing immense medical expenses. Unlike some other European nations, Romania lacks specific legislation to support public funding for fertility preservation for medical reasons. This often leaves patients feeling rushed and overwhelmed, making critical decisions under immense pressures. Furthermore, we have excellent individual medical expertise, but the lack of a centralized, comprehensive data system limits our ability to learn, adapt, and improve. This is precisely why we need a national cancer-related fertility registry. And I can give you some, let's say, advantages for medical professions. It's a powerful tool that can help somehow create a path forward for oncofertility because it provides invaluable evidence for clinical decision making. And second of all, it fosters research and professional development because a registry becomes a rich source for studies, allowing us to identify trends, to evaluate effectiveness of various fertility preservation methods and pinpoint areas where further research is needed. Also, it promotes standardization and best practices because by collecting data on processes and outcomes, a registry can help identify and disseminate best practices, ensuring that a more consistent, a higher standard of oncofertility is used across all Romania. And last but not least, it strengthens multidisciplinary collaboration. For us, our patient advocacy groups, a registry empowers our vital work and amplifies the patient's voice. Why? Because it empowers patients with knowledge. We will be able to identify disparities and informs advocacy and other stakeholders tackle the disparities. And maybe we are hoping to drive policy change and funding initiatives. I know that we already have a childhood cancer registry, so we are capable to collect data at the national level. But I think that we can build up on this existing infrastructure, adapting and expanding to include crucial fertility-related information for patients for all ages. And allow me to finish my speech with a call to action. In 2025, as I said before, Romania remains the only EU country that does not reimburse fertility preservation, ovocytes, sperms, ovarian tissue cryopreservation for young cancer patients. For instance, in Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, Greece, and Italy, it's 100% reimbursed. In Romania, patients pay 2,500 up to 5,000 euros out of the pocket or give up their dream to become patients. This is unacceptable, so we cannot let this continue. We demand the inclusion of oncofertility in the National IVF Program 2026. Specifically, full reimbursement of ovocyte, sperm, and ovarian tissues cryopreservation before oncological treatment, and free access for all cancer patients age 18 to 40. I think that last week, the Ministry of Labor announced that the IVF program for next year will be funded by EU money. So we have the window of opportunity to advocate for the above-mentioned suggestion to be included in the guidelines for the next IVF campaign. Thank you for the work you do and for your commitment to pushing Romanian healthcare forward, and let's hope to have a successful advocacy campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your intervention. It's truly, utterly necessary to have this, and not only to inform more about social freezing, but oncofertility. I think it's a core thing that it should take, you know, a central stage in the public policy in Romania. So yeah, let's hope that in 2026 the IVF national IVF program will have this category, because we know what we know at the moment is that is addressed to the vulnerable people, so to say, to specific categories. And to my opinion, obviously these oncofertility patients, they are the most vulnerable patient that they can subscribe under this category. So thank you very much for your intervention, and I will pass to our next and last speaker of the day, Dr. Ritu Santuani, who is an obstetrician and gynecologist, sexologist and cosmetologist, founder and CEO of 360-Degree Healthcare Studio, and she will be talking today about sexual health and fertility, decoding the female sexual dysfunction in infertility couples. Dr. Ritu, a pleasure to have you here with us. You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to each and everyone. Greetings from India. I am here, Dr. Ritu Santuani this side, founder and CEO of 360-Degree Healthcare Studio. So now, without any delay, I am starting the topic which has been allotted me today for the discussion. Before the presentation, I showed this one slide as a worship to my goddess. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु चिकित्सा रूपेण संसता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. So as we all know, infertility is still a big taboo. So the topic which I am going to discuss today, that the sexual health and fertility, decoding the female sexual dysfunction in infertile couples. So what are her intimacy issues in women? What are unsaid problems that I'm going to discuss, and how can we resolve that? So we all know the basic need of the human being in this era is the mobile-free Wi-Fi and sex. So according to WHO, the definition of this, the various ways in which a woman is unable to participate in a sexual relationship as she should wish. It is a multifactorial, age-related, progressive problem. Female sexual dysfunction is the persistent, recurring decrease in sexual desire or arousal, the difficulty, inability to achieve an orgasm, and or the feeling of the pain during the sexual intercourse. Earlier, it was thought that once the patients of the infertility are approaching to us, then mostly for the male sexual dysfunction. Now, we had got a lot of studies that more than 40% of the women struggle with sexual dysfunction. So, statistics have revealed that around 21 to 28% from hypoactive sexual desire disorder, 28% female sexual arousal disorder, 23% with lubrication difficulties, 21% female orgasmic disorder, and 26% with the pain disorders. The study has been published in PubMed in 2019 that infertility-related distress and female sexual function during the assisted reproduction. Then a very recent study has been come in 2020-24 that infertility negatively impacts the female sexual function. The most comprehensive analysis to date of studies examining the female sexual function in the context of infertility provides strong evidence for a significant association. Overall association with this as the decreased sexual satisfaction and function across multiple domains. Secondary infertility, mostly the patients who are approaching to us having a vulnerability to desire and arousal disorders, and coming to the older age among the fertile women, correlated specifically with the lubrication difficulties, suggesting that some hormonal factors may play a prominent role in this subgroup. So, according to DSM-4 criteria, it is divided into class 1 related to sexual desire, class 2 sexual arousal, class 3 orgasmic, and class 4 is the sexual pain disorders. So, all the factors which are directly affecting the female sexuality: age, physical and emotional health, quality of the relationship with the partner, sexual performance of the partner, and hormonal status. Among this, the causes are divided into organic, psychological, socio-cultural, and relationship level. Among this, mostly we are seeing the females with the hormonal disorders, and some are suffering from among the psychological, the depression and anxiety, or the drug addiction or alcohol. Then at the relationship level, the performance of the partner, loss of the partner, quality of the relationship, these all factors contribute. As we all know, the female sexual response, the desire, excitement, plateau, and orgasm. A female sex drive is influenced by several types of factors: physical, situational, emotional, or psychological. Among the sexually sensitive areas, the clitoris and vagina are considered to be the queen of sex: clitoris, vagina, nipples, areola, breast, and labia. Among the sexual desire, female sexual disorders, the female sexual desire disorders, among this the hypoactive sexual desire disorder, which involves the lack of desire for sexual activity and or deficiency or absence of sexual thought and fantasies. Sexual aversion disorder, as fear and avoidance of sexual thought and situations. Extreme anxiety or extreme depression also contributes in that. Then the second category, the female sexual arousal disorder, characterized by the persistent or recurrent inability to attain the sexual arousal or to maintain the arousal until the completion of a sexual activity. Female sexual arousal disorder occurs when the body does not respond to sexual stimulation. The persistent or recurrent inability to attain or maintain the sexual excitement. Desire for the sex might be intact, but might having the difficulty in arousal. Then female orgasmic dysfunction. Orgasmic dysfunction, the causes are maybe the lovemaking that consistently ends before the woman is aroused enough, insufficient foreplay in one or both partners, the lack of understanding about the genital organ function, poor communication about sex. All these factors contributes. Among this, the causes are the problems in the relationship, fear of letting go physically or emotionally, traumatic experience, anxiety about the sexual performance, psychological disorders. Then female sexual pain disorders. Among this, the dyspareunia and vaginismus contributes mainly. Then the study has been presented by NCBI in 2019 that infertility and sexual dysfunction, a systemic literature review for highlighting both dyspareunia and vaginismus. So vaginismus and dyspareunia. And vaginismus, a hypercontractility of the pelvic floor muscles. The etiology of vaginismus includes both physical and non-physical factors that are associated with the anticipation of pain during sexual intercourse. While for the dyspareunia, the pain caused attempted by the actual vaginal penetration has multiple etiologies. Among this, the contribution of the endometriosis and uterine pathologies too. Then the other factors which contribute for the sexual dysfunction: diabetes, arthritis, vaginal atrophy, hypertension, neurological disorders, multiple sclerosis, overactive bladder, chemotherapy, coital capalgia, and smoking has been reported. Then what are the symptoms for this sexual dysfunction? Relationship difficulty, especially with the partner, body image negativity, lack of self-confidence, low self-worth. So this is a circle: the painful sex, decreased desire, unsatisfying encounter, decreased arousal, then sexual dysfunction and vaginismus, or the decreased orgasm and due to inadequate stimulation, then decreased organism, then unsatisfying encounter. So this is all, the circle is like this is going on. Then also in the PCOS patients, has been reduced quality of life due to increased risk of depression, decreased overall sexual satisfaction, and feelings of sexual self-worth. So maybe due to the changes in the appearance due to weight gain and hirsutism. Then studies has been reported that endometriosis, chronic pelvic pain may cause the dyspareunia due to inflammation in the pelvis and the adhesions. And sometimes in the patients of the fibroid also reports pain because of the enlarged uterus. Then coming to this, the very important etiology, the premature ovarian failure. In these females, the decreased sex hormone production leading to anxiety, psychological distress, depression, decreased sexual arousal and vaginal lubrication, and increased pain during the intercourse and fewer sexual fantasies. Then the one index has been reported, that is the female sexual function index, is the golden standard for diagnosing the sexual dysfunction in women. The most common disorders related to that has been reported is with the desire and lubrication. So according to this female sexual function index, if the woman has not been sexually active in that period of time, she will obtain a score of 0. Score ranges from 0 to 36. 0 to 10 means the severe sexual dysfunction. 11 to 16 means moderate sexual dysfunction. 17 to 25 means mild sexual dysfunction, and 26 to 30 means no sexual dysfunction. So this female sexual function index is very important for. So among this, then all the correlations between the emotional intimacy and the sexual stimuli and the sexual arousal. Then we know in this PCOS patients, and the premature ovarian failure patients also, the estrogen deficiency affecting the vaginal lubrication, testosterone imbalances impacting the sexual desire, prolactin level elevation, reducing the arousal capacity. So then the reason for this hormonal imbalances, some drugs has been also reported, mainly the antidepressant, especially in that the fluoxetine, sertraline, antihypertensives, beta blockers, and diuretics, atenolol, metoprolol, hydrochlorothiazide. Hormonal contraceptives may also has been reported to affect the libido due to altered hormone level. Antihistaminics and sedation has also been reported to cause reduced arousal and lubrication deficiency. Then how to manage these kind of the patients? So how to rekindle the fire? F for fuel up the desire, I to increase the blood flow to the genitalia, R relieves the stress and anxiety, E to ensure the maximum strength and stamina. So there is a very famous quote from the Billy Crystal that women need a reason to have sex while men just need a place. So men are considered to be a light bulb and women are like irons. A light bulb gets turned on with the flick of the switch almost instantly and instantly turn off, leaving you in the dark. For the men, the sexual arousal is as instant as their mental detachment from the sex after the ejaculation, while as the iron, it heats up gradually. Once it's turned off, it slows even. It takes some time to cool and slowly cools. Women also need at least 15 minutes or more to be sufficiently aroused for orgasm. So now how to navigating the treatment and support in these kind of the patients: lifestyle modification, quitting of smoking, alcohol, reduction of the weight, exercise, healthy diet, adequate rest, all are very important. Then orgasmic diet, in this, the inclusion of the sea vegetables, beans, root vegetables, spicy foods, chocolate, and alcohol, a reduction of the alcohol has been reported. Then for the dyspareunia, yes, we all know the dilators plays a very important role, the different size of the vaginal dilators. Then the study has been come from March 2022 from the Mayo Clinic the drug has been reported as ospemifene to treat moderate to severe dyspareunia in women who have problems with vaginal lubrication. It acts like the estrogen on the vaginal lining. Another drug to relieve the painful intercourse is Presteron intrarosa. It is a capsule to be placed inside the vagina daily. So studies have come for this intrarosa and Osphena, the both treatments for moderate to severe dyspareunia. So this Presteron is the steroid, while ospemifene is selective estrogen receptor modulator. So Presteron is available as vaginal insert, while ospemifene oral tablet. So Presteron usually at bedtime, while ospemifene orally. So with that, Presteron, the most common adverse side effects report vaginal discharge, and sometimes the pap smear reports also not come normal. With ospemifene, some patients again report of a vaginal discharge, hot flushes, muscle spasms, hyperhidrosis, and headache. And now, among the diet, we can include a lot of studies has come the role of the fenugreek. The fenugreek is a herb which has having a lot of benefits, have found to exhibit the estrogenic activities, include binding to estrogen receptors and inducing the expression of estrogen responsive gene. Then the another amino acid L-citrulline has been reported to having a very good result. The sources of that is the watermelon, garlic, almonds, dark chocolate has been reported to a good source. It boosts up the nitric oxide production in the body, which helpful for the treatment. Then the another drug which has been reported is the flavanserin at the dose of the 100 mg at bedtime, a non-hormonal centrally acting postsynaptic serotonin 1A receptor agonist and serotonin 2A receptor antagonist. Another drug has been reported is buspirone, a serotonin 1A partial agonist, which has been approved as anxiolytic for the management of the generalized anxiety disorder and for a short-term relief of symptoms of anxiety. It is used as off-label for HSDD. Then the studies has come again in 2020, relationship intimacy, sexual distress, and help seeking for the sexual problems amongst the older European couples are a hybrid dietic approach. Then the role of the water-based and sugar-free glycerin-containing non-sticky vaginal lubricants, KY jelly, silicone-based gels can be used with condoms, super slippery, then some other gels. Then 5% arginine gel also is very helpful, triggers the nitric oxide axis, causing the vasodilatation, testosterone therapy, and evidence-based off-label treatment for perimenopausal and postmenopausal women with HSDD, transdermal testosterone therapy using 300 milligram per day a patch. Another has been reported as 1% testosterone cream or 2% testosterone gel. Then coming to the very advanced therapy, the PRP injections, which gives a very good results, improving the sexual gratification, no downtime, can resume all normal activities, and no incisions are required. So these are some different therapies which has been come. For detail of that, we are giving the O shots and J shot. So the conclusion of the study that infertility can be a time of significant personal and interpersonal stress for women. Details of sexual function and frequency should be discussed at the initial infertility evaluation to rule out the pre-existing sexual dysfunction. When appropriate treatment for sexual dysfunction may preclude the use of expensive and unnecessary treatments for infertility. So if left untreated, FST may become a chronic problem that can affect self-esteem and interpersonal relationships. Because of FST has a known negative impact on human quality of life, further research is necessary to provide the optimal management for patients of suffering from both FST and infertility. So these are some practical strategies for the couples, reduce the pressure, scheduling the free intimacy outside the fertility window helps the couples to reconnect without conception pressure. So mindful approaches, sensate focus exercises and mindful practices, medical interventions for treating this vaginal lubrication and dryness, and hormonal therapy for desire issues and pain management for dyspareunia, alongside with the fertility treatments. So, role of the multidisciplinary teams in this: psychologists, couple counselors, and pelvic floor therapists. The collaborative multidisciplinary approach ensures that intervention addresses both physical and emotional needs of couples with tailored strategies that recognize the unique challenges each couple faces. So, conclusion of this study: that intertwined challenges, holistic treatment, and compassionate care. So, the holistic treatment, recognizing and treating the sexual dysfunction, is not only improves the quality of life, but may also enhances the fertility outcomes by reducing the stress, improving the relationship satisfaction, and increasing the sexual frequency. So, these all play a very, very important role for healing the intimacy to faster conception. So, with this, I will wind up the lecture of the today. So, while treating this female sexual dysfunction, by giving the treatment, now the lady has conceived and delivering the healthy baby. And this is a one beautiful song. The lady is thanking to the doctor. So thank you everyone for your interest and time. With this, I will wind up for today.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Dr. Ritu. I also want... Actually, we are more than happy to host this debate with specialists from all over the world, and it's always a great pleasure to have you all the way from India speaking to us today. So thank you for your time and for the presentation. I also would like to thank all our speakers who are online and the public who watch us live today, and obviously to my lovely speakers that are here next to me today. And thank you very much for attending a new edition for Bucharest Leaders Summit, the IVF Agenda. Thank you very much and see you next time. Goodbye.
Aqua Carpatica nu este singura apă extraordinară din România. Avem 60% din izvoarele Europei. Izvoare cu apă folosită terapeutic de acum 1600 de ani. Exportam apă la Constantinopol acum 800 de ani. Ape extrase de la sute de metri adâncime. Ape ce izvorăsc din păduri virgine sau ape premiate internațional. Avem și cea mai pură apă minerală din lume, iar apele din România continuă să se întreacă între ele. Încearcă noul izvor Aqua Carpatica, la fel de pur și cu gust unic datorat concentrației speciale de săruri. Aqua Carpatica din România, patria apelor minerale.
Credem că totul este un miracol. De aceea îmbrățișăm visurile celor care au nevoie de noi. Este miza noastră, singura, Sanador, sănătatea ca stil de viață.
Un nou capitol în industria farmaceutică din România începe astăzi. În orașul Turda, în inima Transilvaniei, Stada a deschis o nouă fabrică de ultimă generație. Lucrările pentru proiectul ambițios au durat 2 ani. În 2022, locația pe care ne aflăm în prezent era un teren gol. Investiția de peste 70 de milioane de euro a transformat spațiul într-un hub farmaceutic modern care concurează cu cele mai bune din Europa. În interiorul fabricii Stada Turda, tehnologia de ultimă generație întâlnește standarde riguroase de calitate. În zona de producție, 9 linii de ultimă generație pentru tabletaje pot produce peste 150 de milioane de cutii de medicamente anual, iar numărul liniilor de producție se va extinde la 12. Digitalizarea cu ajutorul tabletelor MIS sporește eficiența și conformitatea proceselor de producție, iar nipărele, vehiculele ghidate automat, oferă un sprijin suplimentar. În zona de depozit se pot procesa 60 de paleți pe oră. Sistemul de depozitare High Bay are o înălțime de 30 de metri și oferă o priveliște de minunitate. În zona de laboratoare se găsesc echipamente de ultimă generație, cum ar fi sistemele HPLC și GC. Spațiul modern de lucru este unul în care orice farmacist visează să lucreze, iar în prezent, aici, se formează o tânără echipă de profesioniști, probabil cea mai bună din industrie. Hubul farmaceutic Stada din Turda contribuie la consolidarea industriei farmaceutice, o industrie strategică, securizând aprovizionarea cu medicamente a Europei și României.